Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. It's going to be an interesting interview for me tonight with Naailah Auladin, who is, she calls herself a carnal revitalist, and she really wants to revitalize our romantic, intimate, sexual times, and she has got a lot of interesting ideas on that. She has traveled from Toronto across Canada to Mexico in her search. She studied a lot of interesting practices, and she's coming back to Ontario in the next couple of weeks to run a couple of workshops. But Naailah, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Brian. I'm doing really well. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So tell me, what is a carnal revitalist?
So it's a carnal revivalist. The word carnal is of the flesh. So I am a specialist of human sexuality as it relates to the overall holistic life balance. So Brian, you know the importance of having, excuse me, a really good night of sleep and how that affects you if you haven't slept in a few days, and how you show up to work, it's going to be different. Same thing with our balanced diet. So eating healthy, having a good variety of fruits and vegetables, how this affects and influences our health, our mood, our hormones, just everything in our physical form. The same thing with exercising. So one of the things that I've been studying and researching is how does sexuality fit in that pie chart of being a human? And yes, we have been spending a lot of research information, even talking, doing, practicing different things for the different parts of being a human, but sexuality is not one that we've been talking about or even practicing it properly. It's a big taboo. It's something that no one talks about. Yet it influences our hormones, how we show up for work, our mood, our productivity, our creativity. So that's basically what Carnal Revivalist does. I look at the individual people, what are their desires, the things that are affecting their sexuality, where they are right now, whether they are married, in a couple situation, single, man, women, doesn't matter. We all have the same hormones. It affects our health the same way. So I look at it on a bigger view and see what is happening in that realm, and what else other than sexuality is this influencing, and how we can make it more homogeneous and have a holistic life balance with including the sexuality as well.
Okay, well, it sounds kind of fascinating to me. How did you come into this? How did you study this? How did you become educated on this?
So, you know, they always say that the best businesses is something that is an issue for yourself that you had to fix. So we had conversation, you and I, before. I was married in an Islamic relationship for a very long time. And when I left that relationship, I decided that I wanted to explore my sexuality. Yet it was something that I had no idea how to go about, being with one man my entire life. And I also didn't want to be the person that's like just going around and doing it for the sake of doing it. So one thing led to the other, and I got really blessed to be meeting the right people. I studied under a gynecological researcher that gave me a lot of the physical information about the female form. And one thing led to the other, as you mentioned, me traveling, going to one place from Canada to BC. I did 9 months there, 9 different cities, just kept studying, asking people questions, and really made a database of information on the topic. And then the last time we spoke, I was in Arizona, and then I came to Mexico. I got the chance to just sit down and collect all of this information, write about it, produce a full course. I'm writing a booklet about it right now. So it's been a beautiful journey of self-discovery, healing myself, and then bringing that to the world.
Why did you need to see a gynecologist and understand the female body better?
Because we're not taught about it. I don't know about you or the people the listeners tonight, but for me, I remember being 21 and not really understanding. And at that point, I was in my relationship for a few years and not really understanding my body and understanding my cycle, which is just basic forms. Yet once I got out of it and actually met, so the gynecological researcher just came into my life as a friend. And when we started talking, I understood really quickly that I knew nothing. And then I realized, okay, I need to bring this information out to the world. I need to teach more women about this. And then quickly I was like, no, this information is supposed to be for everyone because we are not educated about the female form. So I learned, we had a conversation last, I learned that a lot of the different points in the vulva, in the vagina are not, they are just glands. And the different glands in our system are, we can actually, as long as you stimulate them properly, they give you an orgasm. It's a release. And the pleasure aspect of it is a recompense for, it's a reward. And so it started getting me really thinking, why is our body giving us rewards for such action? It's because it's actually good for us. So the chemicals and the hormones that are being released through those actions are actually helpful for the ovaries, the uterus, the cervix, and we are not being taught about it. So yes, there's a huge pleasure aspect. There's a psychological aspect. There's an emotional aspect. There's an energetic aspect of sexuality. There's also a health aspect. And bringing all of that together was very important to me.
Well, we're going to delve into this a little bit further today on the show. And you're doing a seminar coming up in Kincardine, I understand.
Yes, I'm super excited about that. So being in Mayan Riviera in the Mexican culture, I was able to learn additional aspect of sexuality and also sensuality. So I've also been doing a lot of work in communication while studying relationships, couple. Relationships to me is not just a sexual or romantic relationship. Everybody you relate to, whether it's somebody you're buying your coffee to or just a colleague at work, you're relating to that person. And due to the lack of communication, we are not being able to have these better relationships in our life. There's always a better level to achieve. So I did a lot of really great work on a relationship and a communication here, and a lot of workshops and retreats that I've been doing here in the middle of the jungle, teaching strangers how to communicate their desires and their needs to people they've never met, and then see how those relationships flourish, how they're able to vocalize and say things that they've probably never said out loud before. Paired that with the different aspect of the Mayan culture that I've learned here. So when I decided to come to Ontario, I was super excited to bring some of that teaching back with me and to teach that to everybody that's interested in Ontario. So yes, we are going to be doing it in Kincardine in a cottage. It's a private cottage. It's going to be on June 18th and 19th. So we have limited spaces for the overnight stay, but we still have a few available places for the daytime. So I encourage everybody to reach out to me if they're interested.
We're going to take a break and come back more with Naailah in just a minute. And we're going to talk about carnal revitalization. Stay with us, everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960, having an interesting, intriguing conversation tonight with Naailah Auladin, who is a carnal revitalization expert, a sexual relation expert, sexuality relations expert. It was interesting. You were mentioning that there's a lot of things that happens during a relationship, and communication is clearly one of them. And we'll come back, I think, to that. But you said something intriguing that I want to probe you on, if I could. You said there's an exchange of energy. What did you mean by that?
So energy, I always say that if I'm passed out on the floor and you ask me, Brian, to have a thought, I won't be able to have that thought because I don't have any energy in my system. So energy is an essential part of how we operate as humans. I see ourselves as these machines, this very high efficient computer system that is running through with energy, and our nervous system is basically like an electric panel to me. So energy cannot be destroyed. So if I'm using energy, it's being passed out or it's being transferred from one point to the other. So I'm sure you've heard the term that you are an average of the 6 people that you hang out with financially, your attitude, your health, wealth, everything. And that's because you're sharing that, not just the knowledge of information, but you're also sharing that energy with those people. So as you shift and you change the people that are around you, the energetic, container also shifts. And it's the same thing with sexual energy. It's not different. It's the same concept. And in quantum physics, we have the term quantum entanglement, which means that
quantum entanglement.
Yes.
Never
You've
heard that.
Heard of that term?
I haven't.
Okay. Okay, so really quickly then, for everybody that hasn't heard of the term, I'll just do a little quick analogy because I think that's the best way of explaining it. And then I'll bring it back to what you asked me. So imagine that you're standing in a lake of a pool of water, a body of water, and that water is basically the size of the universe. So it's completely covered and your being is in the middle of that water. And then all of the people that are in your life currently, depending on how you relate to them, they are at proximity of that water. Some are further away because of geography. Some are closer because of how you feel about them. Some are, and that keeps changing depending on what you're working on, what's going on in your life. It's always shifting and changing. So that's your energetic core to all of these people. Now imagine that there is a ripple in that water, just like when we go to the lake and we throw rocks in the water. So that creates a ripple effect. So that ripple effect is affecting or influencing the people around you and vice versa. And by that is called quantum entanglement, in my opinion. So when you understand that you're actually influencing and being affected by the people around you, by the end of it, that water is always changing, because where you are in the middle, it's affecting a little bit everywhere. Even if it's like at a very, very small amount, at the end of at the edge of that space, it's still influencing that space, even with a little bit of a small percentage. So we are always, based on who we are and how we are acting and how we are feeling, we are each other influencing our reality all the time. So that's my definition of quantum entanglement. Now, taking the same principle, I have designed a term called sexual quantum entanglement. So when you're having a sexual relationship with somebody, of course, you're exchanging chemistry, biology, fluids that is of physical of nature, but you're also being influenced energetically by that person. So you can be taking their energy, giving them the energy, sharing energy, creating energy together, or just being very tired, depending on how that person is, where they are. So that's the exchange of energy that's happening when you're having sex with another human.
Assuming it's an enjoyable experience for both parties, isn't it really creating energy for both people?
It could be. It's not about just so as everything in science, it's not just one aspect that's influencing a condition. There's so many different things happening at the same time where that person is. Even the joy aspect and the pleasure aspect could be there, but there's also other things. What is going on in that person's head? How they are feeling about their day? What happened during their day? Are they talking? Did they have an argument with a colleague that's in the back of their head? All of these different aspects of what's going on right now is also affecting how that person's energy is being projected and emitted towards their partner. Also, how healed they are, what kind of journey they've been on. All of these aspects are also being part of creating who they are in that moment, and you're sharing that. So I don't believe in good or bad. I'm not saying that you shouldn't or should not be doing this. I'm just saying that this is an awareness that most people don't have. And by virtue of being educated and aware of it, we're able to create more stronger, better relationships, sexual relationship or others with people around us, just by virtue of understanding those concepts.
Okay. So understanding that there's an exchange of energy, and I guess what you're saying is try to figure out whether it's positive energy or negative energy. Is that what your secret is?
I don't really call it positive or negative energy. Like I said, it's not good or bad. It's just a basket of energies. So just being aware that happens, you can manipulate it, change it, create with it. I'll ask you a question. Have you read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a chapter in it about sexual energy. I'm not sure if you remember that chapter. So that's basically what he's talking about, how to harness that sexual energy. Because once I started really paying attention to what sexual energy is and the vast things that you can actually do with it, I started comparing it with our culinary world. So food, for example, we only need it for survival technically as a need. So as long as we have the basic nutrition and we are having adequate amount of food, we are keeping keeping us alive. And if we had just allowed food to just be that, and we had kept it in just that condition, we would have been fine. However, we have allowed food to just expand organically. We have different regional food, we have food for pleasure, we have food for detox, and it's unlimited in forms of what we can create with food. What I'm saying is that we haven't allowed that with sexuality. We have taken sexuality and placed it in a box where we are using it for procreation, for a little bit of pleasure, because there's so much more pleasure we can achieve by just understanding our bodies and our psyche more. And we have been using it on both gender for a lot of control. So what would happen if everybody is educated that sexuality is more than that, and we can allow it to just be? So that's basically what I'm going with this.
Okay, and you also said there's a bunch of hormone benefits. What are the hormonal benefits of good sexual relationships?
It's highly connected to your emotional intelligence, to your mood, regulating your mood, your creativity, being able to be motivated. It's endless. It's on a physical level, it's really, really important. Just like food, being able to have a good balanced diet, how it helps with various aspects of your physical form. They're all interrelated, whether it's your emotions, your psychology, your energetics, and your physical form. So I find that a lot of the information that there is out there, or the different types of therapies that are available for people, they are either connecting on one aspect, but not all three. You have people that are doing therapies about energies. You have people that are doing therapies about psychology and emotions. And then you have your physical form of therapies. What I've done is I've studied them all, and I've given all of them equal value in my therapies, and I put all of them together. So what I've been doing a lot with my clients is identifying one main thing about their sexuality that they want to improve or change. And it could be anything, and it doesn't have to be a bad thing or a good thing. I have people that just wants to work on their self-confidence. Other people have more actual physical aspect of sexuality they want to work on. And then what we do is we go back. So I believe that when we were given those physical forms, it was at factory default. So what did we do to ourselves to create that aspect that is making us not confident, or cannot have an orgasm, or things like that? What happened during our journey as a human that created that? And then I go back and find that, and find what else is that issue affecting into that human's life that is not sexually related. And then we create that program for them individually. So it's a lot of very, very deep work that I've been doing. So not just the physical form, but on all three aspects.
So you're saying that there's a bunch of past issues that create mental blocks such that you can't enjoy sex as much as you could or should?
Yes, that's part of it. And I'm not generalizing anything. I'm not saying that it's the same for everyone. That's why it's a very personalized work. But in general, that's what's happening. So something happens. It could be as early as somebody being a toddler, playing under the table, and then creating a link with feet and having a lifelong fetish of foot. And because society has told them that this is unacceptable, or they shouldn't be talking about it, they are internalizing that, keeping it as shame and guilt, and living their life that way, not sharing it with anyone. And that aspect of their personality is not just affecting their sexuality, it's also affecting how they view themselves, their self-esteem, their worth. And then that leads to how are they showing up in their relationship with co-workers, with work, with business. It's just like this whole array of things that it's affecting. So as we get into that and we start working with people, you are able to like create this more holistic life balance within individual, where yes, we've been working with sexuality, but we are working on everything else as well. So it's really, really beautiful.
So are you like a psychologist? Are you sitting down with someone and sort of analyzing their life history and trying to figure out why they're not happy?
It's more than that. So I won't call myself a psychologist. I don't have the degree to do that. What I do have is the life experiences of sitting down with hundreds of people and doing that work and collecting that data and seeing what works, what doesn't work. People that are licensed and are bound under certain criteria, a box of what is allowed and not allowed. Because I'm not licensed and this is my own work, I can go and really dive in and ask questions and really put it on all three levels, which, as I mentioned, is the psychology, the physical, and the energies as well. So we look at all three aspects, and then by the end of it, the person is like having all of this realization, and with the homeworks and everything, it's pretty amazing what can be done after those sessions. So typically a session, my course is 7 weeks long, and it's an hour for 7 weeks, where it's me and them sitting down together and working for that. And then I have a booklet where they actually have some homework for integration. So I'm a big proponent of integration. Sitting down for an hour is amazing. They're getting a lot of aha moments, realization, understanding. And then throughout the week, they get to sit down, read more, have exercises, practices that they are doing. And then we meet again. By the end of the 7th session, it's basically like this huge reverse pyramid where they started here, and now their consciousness, their understanding of their self has expanded, and it's an ongoing work. We are never at one point and we reach there and it's like the end of it. It's always an evolving work. But once they're done with those 7 weeks, now they have the tools and the toolbox to go around and experiencing with it and finding out how they can improve their life more and more. So it's an overall success.
Okay, so I'm still trying to, and maybe this is the problem that I've got of trying to put you in a box, but are you therefore a sex therapist? Like, you call yourself a carnal revitalist, so are you a sex therapist?
I'm overall all of it. So that's why I never chose those terms, because so I'll say it again. I am a carnal revivalist. I specialize in human sexuality as it relates to an overall holistic life balance. So how it fits in the pie chart of being a human. So I'm looking at the sex aspect of it, but I also looking at how it's interrelated to the other aspect of our human experience and how to make it better. There's nothing like that out there. That's why you're having a difficult time putting me in a box, because I created it. I looked at the world and I looked at what was lacking in that realm, and I created something based on what was lacking. That's it.
Well, and I guess I looked at your retreat and your agenda for the retreat, and you talk about yoga and nighttime rituals and tantric teachings and mind cleansings. I sort of got the impression that what you are is teaching tantric sex. Is that correct?
So no, actually. So Tantra is such a misunderstood word, and I love being asked this question. So I got into the world of Tantra a while ago when I started living more consciously. And Tantra, I don't know if you knew that, Brian, but Tantra, the actual word Tantra, if I had to translate it, means technology. So basically living a tantric life and teaching Tantra, yes, I do that, but it's not about sexuality. It's about how to teach people to live a life that is more conscious, with more intention. So sex is part of Tantra, but Tantra is how to live everything, just like cooking tantrically, going to work tantrically, taking a shower tantrically. And the more we have the ability to live our life with consciousness, we are living a more fulfilled life. So when we are talking about the word Tantra, yes, I do teach Tantra. It's just how to have a more conscious aspect of our different pie chart of who we are as human. So in the retreat, what we are teaching people is we are helping them identify how they are already tantric in so many areas of their life and how fulfilled they are because they are tantric, and then how they can actually copy and paste that in other areas where they are not. For example, sex. So being able to have more conscious sex, being able to have more sex with communication and understanding is Tantra. So being able to use, go ahead.
More communication, understanding. I thought that's what sex is all about. So explain, please.
It's just not happening around. People, men and women, are still being very keeping their aspect of their desires away. They are having issues talking about their darkest secrets about their sexuality, what they want. So we have a lot of exercises where we are teaching people. So the actual retreat is not a sexual retreat. So there is no removing of any clothes or anything like that, but it has a lot of sensual aspect to it, because what we are doing is we have exercises teaching people how to communicate and how to put their boundaries and push their boundaries. So we have an exercise where you can ask somebody to give you massages or touch you or touch your hair. So being able to communicate that to somebody can be very, very hard for a lot of people. I've been conducting those retreats here, and it can be very challenging. And then from the other side, being able to, from the person that's actually being asked to do this, what if they're not comfortable for them to say, hey, no, I do not want to touch your hair. I might be able to give you a shoulder massage. So teaching them how to communicate and to negotiate with what is truly their desires and their comfort level, because in a lot of cases, people are either going away from their comfort zone or into it too much because they don't know how to communicate. They are people pleaser. They are scared to offend someone, or the reverse of it. It's like how to stand in your power. So a lot of the exercises that I've created is for that specifically. And then once they're able to do it in a vulnerable space with somebody they don't know and learn how to manage and talk and be vocal about it, I teach them how to take that and take that back to other areas of their life. So imagine somebody that has been going to work for 5 years in the same office, and for fear of being able to communicate properly, they haven't been able to tell their boss about specific things, or they had an idea that they've been keeping in their chest for a very, very long time. And then now, after going through these exercises, and they realize, oh, it's not that bad. People, once you start communicating, there's another door that opens, and they are able to do that. So it's actually teaching them how to do that and how to translate that in other areas of their life.
Sounds fascinating. I guess I had always thought that Tantra was just about slowing down and you use the word conscious, but being more aware, more conscious of what was going on rather than it being routine. But you're saying it's a lot more than that.
It's way, way more than that. Tantra means technology. How can you use everything around you as a tool? It doesn't matter where you are. I talk a lot about me personally. I want to be an adaptable human. I have this image of, if you take me and put me anywhere in the world, like if somebody was just to like uplift me and put me in Africa or in China, it doesn't matter where it is, I should be able to be adaptable. So I don't want to be the person that's like, oh, I don't have this, so I cannot live here. So Tantra teaches you how to use tools around you to be, that's the part of the consciousness, to be adaptable. Whether it's in sex, it doesn't matter where it is. So it creates more resilient women, not just women, men and women, and teaches us how to use what's around us to create. So we all had to go through that with COVID. We had to change everything that we knew about how to interact, live. We had the lockdown, so it changed a lot. And the people that had a mindset of adaptability were more successful at living through that and going through that than the people that were like so stuck about, I don't want this to happen. So it's not about right or wrong. It's about having a mindset to be able to use everything around you as a tool.
Fascinating. If people want to check you out or check out this retreat, how do they best do that?
The best thing is to send me a DM on my Instagram. People can reach me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and my WhatsApp number that I can provide to you happily.
Okay. We're going to take a break and come back in just a couple of minutes with Naailah Auladin about being a carnal revitalist. Stay with us, everybody. It's an interesting conversation.
Okay, hold on.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I find a really interesting conversation with Naailah Auladin, she calls herself a carnal revitalist. And so I guess she thinks that we all have to revitalize some aspects of our life, which is kind of interesting. And she's in Mexico right now, where she's been for a while in the Mayan Riviera, and she's coming to Ontario in 2 weeks' time to put on some retreats and some sessions. And we've been talking a little bit about Tantra. We've been talking about consciousness. We've been talking about energy. It's been fascinating. You've got another session on your retreat called Sensual Manifestation. What is sensual manifestation?
So you've heard the term manifestation before, Brian?
Yes.
Okay. I say that we are always manifesting our life all the time, all of us. Some of us are doing it with results that we actually like, and a lot of us are doing it with results that we don't like. So we are co-creating this universe all the time. What I've been playing with and doing a lot of research. And when I say that, I also encourage people to never believe anything that I say first and just go and try it. I'm not trying to convince anyone. I'm not trying to tell you that this is the truth and that you have to believe me. What I'm encouraging is for you to go out and test it and see if it works for you. And if it does, perfect. And then how you can make it better, how you can actually add on to it and make it your own. So that's what, for me, consciousness is all about. So when I started understanding and diving into the world of how to manifest, how to create a life that is more of my reality that I desire, I started playing around with different things. So I understand that when I'm creating a thought, and I'm generating that thought, it's a frequency that's going out there in the universe. And there's no good or bad, it's just different values of it. So everything that I add to that thought changes the geometry, if you say, of the value of that thought. So think about if both you and I right now, we got a message saying that we have to go have, we are invited for a Sunday lunch tomorrow with our daughters. So imagine that you're driving and you get that call, and that I am in the middle of a meeting and I get that call. Depending on the environment that we are, the mood that we are, our relationship with our daughters, how easy it is for us in that moment to actually go on Sunday and have that lunch. Do we want to have that lunch? All of these different things is changing the frequency or the value of the thought that we are having about that lunch. Now, as we are having that thought and it's going out there in the universe, it's going to be very, very different for you and I. Now, if you stand up and you start jumping and dancing and saying, oh my God, like I'm going to have lunch with my daughter tomorrow, this is amazing, it's going to make a bigger bang in terms of frequency in the universe. And if I'm like, I really want to go have lunch with my daughter, but she lives in Mauritius right now, so it's going to be very, very, it's impossible for me to do that. So I'm kind of sad. It's going to have a different energy that's being transmuting from my system out to the universe. So that's how I kind of explain how manifestation works. So manifestation, there's two aspects of it, and there's no right or wrong. It's just two different ways of doing it. And which one is better would depend on what you're trying to manifest and where you are in your journey. So for example, there's one style that's called macro manifestation, and there's one style that's called micro manifestation. So macro manifestation is a little bit like this. So a person who wants to bring more wealth in their life, so they don't define what wealth is. They say that, okay, I want to bring more wealth. They wake up every day, they write in their journal. So that's one aspect of the value, writing it down. They say it out loud. They chant it. They're like, I want to bring wealth in my life. They say that, like, I am wealthy. Affirmation, that's another value of manifestation. They write it to their friends. So every time they do something, they add to it. That's a different value of manifestation. But they're not defining what wealth is. So what's actually happening is all of these different frequencies are going and looking to match. It's like a magnet, if you think about it. So it's looking to match with a frequency of wealth. So then wealth comes into that person's life in various form because that person did not define what wealth is. So that's macro manifestation. Now, micro manifestation is somebody that also wants money or wealth in their life, but they're very specific about how they're supposed to get it. So they're like, okay, I want to win the lottery. I want to win the lottery. I want to win the lottery. And they can pray, they can write it down, they can light incense with it. Each one of those activities will change the value of that manifestation. But it's such a small narrow frequency because the value of it is just of that. winning the lottery. So it's actually going out in the universe, and the probability mathematically of this happening is very limited because there are so many people out there asking for that same thing, and there's only one lottery that's being pulled every X amount of days. So on a mathematical level, the probability of it is scarce. However, if there is something that maybe that person is having a big contract happening that's supposed to be signed in 2 weeks, and they want to macro manifest that, that's something that they've already been working on. That's something that's part of their career and their life. And they're like, I really wish for this to happen. And they're manifesting that. That would be more likely to happen than winning the lottery. So I'm not saying that the macro or the micro are good or bad. They're just different aspects of manifestation. And being able to be aware of it, you can actually make a mixture of them and use them to your advantage at different points in time.
Okay, so right? I understand what manifestation is, but you talk about sensual manifestation. What's that?
So just bear with me, you'll get where I'm going. So now with sexual energy that we've been talking from the beginning of the conversation, that is the most highest value of manifestation energy, because it is the creative energy. And what that means is that if two people were to get together and create and have sex to create a human, that's the same energy that's being used to create another form of life. So on a scale of mathematical value, this is the highest level of manifestation energy that you can use. So a scale down from sexual energy will be sensual energy. So what we've created is a sensual space where people, again, with consent and with boundaries, they can touch each other with a sensual massage, and with still keeping their clothes on, and they can actually in that space manifest what they want to bring into their life. So imagine having one person lying down, and then they're having two participants on them, asking them, okay, what do you want to bring into your life in the next few months or weeks or whatever? And that person's like, oh, I would like to have more self-love. I've been like really bad with that. And then having all three of them focusing their attention and their energy on the fact that this human needs more self-love in their life, and just giving them a gentle sensual massage on their shoulder, on their arms, wherever they are comfortable, and bringing that energy together at the same space. So that's what the sensual manifestation is all about. And if you pair that with the understanding of sexual manifestation, sex magic, and what the book Think and Grow Rich talks about, it's harnessing that energy of sexual energy or sensual energy and creating something beautiful with that.
You said sex magic. I hope that answers your question.
Sex magic, yes.
What's that?
Sex magic is harnessing sexual energy and creating with that, creating more than just a baby, creating something else. Because if we go with the principle that energy can never be destroyed, it can only be transferred from one point to the other, and that this system, imagine somebody going through an orgasm. An orgasm is a whole amount of energy going through that person's body at one time and being released. So when that energy is being released, if we're not using it, it's just going to be used by something else. It's going to be sent into the universe around us. But being able to harness that energy and use it for our own benefit is what I call sex magic.
Fascinating. Let's go back to the very first conversation we had. You said that when you first left your arranged marriage, that was, I guess, constraining you. You befriended a gynecologist, and you started to learn a lot more about the female body and anatomy. And then you talk about that in your sessions. Why is that so important? You said that people don't understand the female body. Tell us what you've learned about the female body and what you want to convey.
So yes, absolutely. I like to make two little corrections. So my marriage was actually not arranged. I wanted to get into it. And yeah, it was not a good one. Secondly, he's not a gynecologist. He's a gynecologist researcher. He used to be a professor at the University of Alberta. So he is now just doing gynecological research. And he has courses on pelvic floor. He's a pelvic floor specialist. So he has a licensing where he's licensing professional in that field. So what I've learned from him is that there's different points in the vulva and the vagina that a woman can actually receive an orgasm from, for example. So you have an A spot, a G spot, a K spot, a U spot, a C spot. And those are all different glands.
Hold it. Say that again, please. An A spot,
A spot, K spot, U spot, C spot, G spot, and then we have the clitoris, which is outside, but these are all inside the vagina.
Okay, you're gonna have to give me a little bit of an anatomy lesson here, and
Yes,
a geography map.
I actually have one that is his, so I can share that with you after for sure.
Okay, and so
Yes.
you know, obviously you've learned something from this. What have you learned? That there's
so each one of those can produce a different orgasm. And the reason why a lot of female are not they don't know about it and they haven't experienced it is because those glands are not activated. So it's like a muscle in your body. If you've never used your hand to do a specific exercise, expecting you to just use it and flex and do it right away, it's not going to work. You have to yourself for it. It's the same thing. So what I teach is I teach men and women how to identify those points within the vagina and how to stimulate them and why it's important and what they are releasing different hormones. So for example, a clitoral orgasm releases more of a dopamine than anything else. So it's a big dopamine rush. It feels good, but then it crashes. Having this internal orgasm actually releases more oxytocin, which is doing a whole different array of things for your psyche and your emotions. So just by virtue of being aware that they exist and working on them, I've taught numerous women to just go and work on those points and having those different types of orgasms. And as they work on them, as they release them, as they are able to learn how to control their body with them, they can teach that to their partner, or they can do it as an exercise together. And it just creates this amazing sexual feeling from both of them. Plus you get the hormonal aspect of it as well.
And so how does one go about finding these different spots?
Well, that's something that I teach in my course, but yeah, anybody can reach out to me and we can book a session for that for sure.
Okay. So you're not going to tell me the secret?
No, it's not a secret. It's just work. So it's time, understanding, describing it. It's techniques, it's hand gestures. So it's not as easy as just doing it over the phone with the interview right now.
Oh, okay. What about men? Do men just have one spot?
No, the men also have the K spot in between the prostate, which is one of the most pleasurable one for them, and also very, very healthy for the different releases of the different hormones as well. That's a really powerful one. The K spot, both men and women have it. And it's the one that's responsible for the most intense orgasm. Yeah.
The K spot, the most intense orgasm. Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to have to, once again, have a map at some point in time to figure out where that one is.
Yes, I'll share that with you.
Okay. And you came across all this because of this friendship with this gynecologist researcher. And how did he discover all these different spots?
He actually, that's his job. He goes around researching this on women. He's done it over thousands and thousands of women. He has his courses where as I mentioned, he licenses a professional in that field. So it's a medical licensing, and he goes around the world. He's actually going to Berlin for his next course and teaching it to people. So that's the work that he's been doing for the last decade, basically.
And this anatomy geography lesson, is this something you teach in your retreat, or no, it's only in your private sessions?
It's the private sessions. The retreat is a little bit different. I haven't done a retreat on that specifically, no. I feel that this is a more one-on-one kind of information because everybody is different. There's different aspect of what needs to be taught before we get there. And it's very personalized.
Okay. Remind us how we can get in contact with you if we're interested in exploring the retreat or the private sessions.
Absolutely. My first and last name, everything, my Instagram, my LinkedIn, Naailah Auladin. And I'll provide you with my WhatsApp information because people can reach me on WhatsApp as well. Okay.
So let's spell Naailah Auladin, if you could.
Sure. Naailah, N-A-A-I-L-A-H, Naailah, and then Auladin is A-U-L-A-D-I-N.
And I follow you on Instagram, so that's probably one of the best places to contact you.
Yes, you can tag me on everything.
And your Mayan Magic Retreat is going to be on June 18th in Kincardine. And if people are interested, they should contact you ahead of time. We're going to take a break for some final messages and come back with some concluding comments in just 2 minutes. Fascinating interview. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I'm having a lot of fun chatting tonight with Naailah Auladin, who is a carnal revitalist. So it sounds sort of like a sex therapist, but she's not quite, because she works on health and mental attitudes and physical attitudes, as well as people's sexuality. But Naailah, when you sent me the message and asked if we could do another interview, you said that you were doing work to transform people's sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Why and how do you want to transform people's sexuality? So you're not talking about making them, gay or straight or into group sex or not group sex. You're talking about making whatever they're doing just better. Is that what you're talking about? Transforming people's sexuality?
You got that right. That's exactly that. It's wherever they are, doesn't matter where that is, how to go to the next level, to provide them with tools to do that, to teach them how to use the tools, and just to let them go. And then they can use those tools again and again as they reach different levels.
Okay. And during the break, you said that a lot of it is just what, slowing down and paying more attention?
No, it's getting into the rhythm. Like there's a rhythm during sex when the two bodies are together. It's tuning to that. It's, again, everything is frequency. So tuning to that frequency of that person and following their body rhythm. And if that's one tip that I want to share, that's one tip that I think you guys should really try. Just going with the rhythm of your partner. Because a lot of time I find that people are just, they have a perception of what somebody would like, and they go with that based on a visual they've seen in porn or something that their friends told them or something that an ex-partner like. Everybody's different. And even as everybody's different, every time you have sex with the same person, they are different. They're showing up differently. Sometimes they're more passionate. Sometimes they are more romantic. It's going with the rhythm, feeling the rhythm of that person.
You mentioned earlier in the show revealing your deep, dark secrets, or being able to communicate your deep, dark secrets. Do you think everyone has deep, dark secrets, fetishes, or whatever it is that you were talking about?
Yeah, because it's a spectrum. So what is a very innocent, cutesy thing for one person could be a dark secret for another. So I don't believe in good or bad. It's whatever your brain actually tells you that this is good, bad, or I'm ashamed to share this with somebody. We do this exercise, and what the view of things that comes up in the room are insane. And then I've done it with couples, I've done it with strangers. It's just fascinating.
We haven't talked about love. Do you need to have love to have good sex?
My definition of love is just the unconditional feeling of love. So yes, I do believe that you need to, personally, I do believe that you need to have love for good sex, but that doesn't mean romantic love. That doesn't mean that we're going to go and, live together for the rest of our life. That doesn't mean that we fell in love with each other. That just means that I love you as a human being and I feel good to be in your presence. And you can also have love and have hatred for that person and still have great angry sex as well. You know what I mean? So love is not...
What do you mean by that? Angry sex? What's that?
I've heard a lot of angry sex about people that just, they are upset and they love each other. And this is how I have a lot of clients that do that. They are in a moment where they've disagreed about something. They haven't been able to reconcile and they decide to have angry sex, and then everything is fine after. That's also something.
That's also something, I guess. So yeah. I guess you've gone through this metamorphosis. You've gone through this incredible transformation yourself from an unhappy marriage and meeting some different people. You've really gone through an exploration of yourself, and what you're trying to do is share that with others. Is that correct?
It's sharing the fact that there's a possibility out there and they can choose to explore it in the way that makes sense to them and evolve from that. It's just available.
how do you find people reacting to you? Are they saying, you know, you have no right to get involved in my sex life, or this is inappropriate and something that I should only be doing with a trained sex therapist? Like, what's the reaction you get from people?
They absolutely love it. I have a lot of clients that they're like, wow, people should know about this. Thank you for doing that work. This is so important. Thanks for having a voice out there. This must not be easy for you. People are just really compassionate, happy, intrigued, all of it. And thankful that I'm doing this, because they need somebody to talk to, and then they have me, which comes from a non-judgmental place. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to elevate you to your next level. That's it.
Elevate us to the next level. Fantastic. And transform our sexuality. That sounds kind of interesting, and hopefully make it better. Last question. In your ceremony, you end with a fire ceremony. Tell me what the fire ceremony is all about. Are we going to walk on fire like Tony Robbins?
No, I love that about him. No, the element of fire is very cleansing and powerful. So at the end, I really like closing ceremonies with fire. I feel that it brings a beautiful atmosphere of togetherness, and then it just closes the ceremony really well. I also do rituals where I ask people to write things that they want to release, whether it's a person or something about themselves that they want to evolve to, and then allow them to burn that and see it burn. I think there's a beautiful connection of how people feel when they see something burning.
Naailah Auladin, thanks so much for joining us, telling us a little bit about your Phoenix life situation, your learnings. Wish we could have gone through the geography map, and about your upcoming sessions, retreats in Kincardine. Really appreciate you joining us tonight, and safe travels to Ontario.
Thank you so much.
That's our show for tonight. Thank you to all of you for joining us. I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can get all my podcasts and video casts on my website, briancrombie.com. You can get all my videos on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and LinkedIn. And you can get all my podcasts on Apple, Audible, and Speakeasy Podcasts. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great weekend. Good night.